Oh, wow. So like, oh, I kept 26 acres, left it when he sold it. And then my wife inherited this.
Okay, we'll call the special council meeting for Thursday, September 5th, to order. The item on the agenda is property acquisition, due diligence status, update and consideration to authorize the bonding process. Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, members of the council. Tonight, we are here to discuss kind of the completion of and the result of our due diligence process, that the work that has been done over the last several months. First, I want to take a moment and thank our agents, our city engineer, our city attorney for all their help throughout the varying steps in these processes, because there was quite an extensive workload ahead of everyone to complete these documents, as indicated by the size of the packet of information you received. So just as a very high level overview, there was a title commitment report completed. The Alta survey was completed, a wetland delineation and notice of decision, phase 1 environmental site assessment, and a phase 1 archaeological survey was completed. I would say of all of those items, everything came back clean, no major concerns or issues that were raised as a result of the review. One small archaeological site was found on the southwest corner of the property, was identified on the survey. That, for perspective, the area of that site is a 1/4 acre, so it's very small. There is, per the request of the archaeologist who did the study, she said best practice is to have a 100-foot buffer around that site. So in total, if we account for that space, it's about 1.3 acres with the buffer and the site itself. But otherwise, no burial mounds were found, and everything else looked really good. So with that, I think we can open if there were any questions from the council on the work done. Otherwise, the city attorney has provided some verbiage for motions that we can help walk the council through when you are ready. But I'll pause for any questions the council might have.
Questions, Mark?
No, well, what did they find in the archaeological survey? Burial or hunting or?
No burial. Some small stone pieces.
Okay.
Very small, just different types of rocks that were.
Crossover area.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Fine.
Go.
What type of wetland was out there? Do you know what the class on that was?
I do not off the top of my head.
I can look. There were 2 or 3 different ones identified. And I can pull that up here one moment. Wetland 1 is a type 2 sedge meadow. Wetland 2 is also a type 2, and then wetland 3 is a type 2 fresh wet meadow. Maybe that means something to you more than it does to me. And all of this is described, but there is one larger one that's wetland. Well, it's not identified here, but so there was the one larger one on the west side, I'm sure we're all familiar with, and then there were 2 small portions of wetland on the northwest and southwest corners as well. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
All type 2.
So maybe if my memory serves me correct, those can be excavated and turned into, like a pond area more. There's more allowance that you can do with a type 2 off. Just my recollection for future use and whatever with the site.
It won't be a halting situation, so.
Right, but they're not as limiting as some other wetlands.
Good.
Okay. Then based on if there are no other council questions or concerns, we have 2 motions to present to you. So the first one is a motion that based on satisfactory review of all due diligence information, the city continue to proceed with steps in furtherance of the transaction including the removal of the due diligence contingency item in the purchase agreement, instructing the city's agents to process that, and approving Mayor John Ryan to sign off on the necessary documents to remove the contingency.
We need some-
That'd be a motion requested for that
Okay.
action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to make a motion seconding.
As-
As presented
As
by our
presented.
city administrator.
Second.
Okay. Any further questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. And then the second motion would be that based on the due diligence phase now being complete, the city council instructs staff to begin the bond application process.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the staff to start the bonding application process. as presented.
Any further questions?
I have one. Do we know what type of dollar amount that bond will be for? And, you know, are we doing the whole amount, taking some out of reserves?
The plan was that we can certainly circle back on more of the details. I just had a conversation with our bond counsel and financial advisor today, working through some of the pieces to that, because there will be two bonds, one taxable and one non-taxable based on the split of the property. I'm working with Seth right now on a layout of the property, so we know how much the city needs to retain and how much we'll plan to sell in the future. So we can present that information. So we're planning on the bond issuance at this point for the full purchase amount, and then the split between the two bonds as appropriate. But certainly if council wants to discuss using any cash reserves, we can certainly do that.
Is the total amount not 2.1 million?
Yes.
Was it? You're looking at me like I'm not supposed to say that.
I didn't know, so that's why I just didn't want to say it. So,
Well,
Well, yeah, that's what I was
Two
asking, you
point
know.
$1 million is what we're looking at for total bond.
yes, at this time, yes.
But we can still revisit if we are gonna fully bond for that amount before we commit to it, correct? That's what I'm understanding.
Yes, I can bring something to you in September, because if that is a decision the council wants to discuss, we need to know that right away. But yes, I will plan to have that on the September agenda.
Although the
too.
bond, you know,
well, to address that concern in regards to the rest of the aggregate bonding that council member Joe is referring to, just from running through everything that Jenny had sent out to the rest of us for our priorities,
Mhm.
project priorities, going through on a high level basis, just with our bonding capacity based on the total market value of city of Nisswa. I mean, we're gonna be sitting pretty good across the board for all the projects. Road bond 25, road bond 26,
Yep.
above and beyond that,
Yep.
including this property, I think we should be sitting pretty good.
So you're thinking we should,
Keep the cash. Cash is
yep.
strong. Especially for positioning for the bond rating that we're gonna be getting from
Right.
the institutions. I would say it's advisable to be able to keep the cash.
I think if anyone has questions about that specifically, again, I would say come in and talk to Jenny, sit down one-on-one and go through it. If you have questions about where you're at with that, what you want to do or don't want to do, you know, and then we'll discuss it at the meeting, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, yes, and I do recall, I had a lot of emails back and forth with them today, but they will want something in front of the council anyways in September
Yep.
for the process, so certainly a great opportunity for the council to ensure that you're setting the direction for how you would like to see that proceed.
Yep. Do we have a motion and a second? Did you have something, Don?
After this.
Motion and a second. Any further questions?
One point to bring up, perhaps, Jenny, just discussion point. Future planning, we parcel a piece off, or 2, 3,
Mhm.
sell it.
Mhm.
Cash proceeds from the sale of that, would it be applied to the principal amount for the bond? Or is it cash that would then, from the proceed of a sale of a parcel of this property?
Well, it kind of depends on when the sale happens. If we're still paying off our bond, we
Sure.
would want that.
Let's
to
say 2 years,
go-
3 years from now.
Sure,
Okay,
we would still be paying off the bond
Got it.
for that, at that point.
And you also have to look at the, the future cost of the infrastructure put in too by the city.
I think the discussion, if I recall right, was the idea of having enough to sell off, hopefully would help pay for infrastructural things that we have to put in, like,
In a perfect world.
yeah, right,
Yep.
right. Help pay anyway.
Help pay.
Anyway, okay. Further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Tom, you had something?
Mayor, if I may, yeah. Excuse me. Bill and Steve, you guys followed through that whole diligence process, saw the information as it was coming in, including the archaeological stuff. Maybe we should have asked, do you two have any apprehension about removing the due diligence contingency at this point and moving forward? Anything you saw in that that concerns you? Nothing that we saw concerns us.
Would you mind coming up? Thanks.
Nothing that we saw really concerned us other than the archaeological find, which is just a few artifacts. But no, I guess kind of reading through that report, nothing really stood out to us that would be a concern.
I hate to put you on the spot, but do you have any concern about evaluation of the whole acquisition price based on that archaeological site being segregated and then whatever wetland stuff was discovered? Is it a de minimis kind of thing as far as value is concerned? Should the city be concerned about going back to the seller at this point and negotiating? Is it a big enough thing to even think about that?
I don't believe so. I mean, just in my experience, having worked with sellers and buyers through a process like this, I mean, the price is what it is. I don't think a seller is gonna say, they're just gonna say that, I'm selling the property as is, and that's kind of where it lands.
Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot. It just
That's-
made me think as I was looking at you too, that maybe we should have asked you if you saw anything, but I'm guessing if you did, you would have been raising your hand.
Yeah, no, and we discussed prior and yeah, I just, it's such a small piece, my understanding is the archaeologist recommendation of 100 feet. I guess I don't know what is law or right or what that setback really would be from there.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Is there anything else? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
That was nice.